Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my non-spoilery Mission Impossible Fallout review. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We still got a whole bunch of stuff happening this summer. The subtitle of the movie Fallout refers to the fallout from the events of the previous film because the Solomon Lane character is back, but also literally fallout as in nuclear fallout from weapons having to do with the events of the last film. The films are connected in a way that Mission Impossible movies haven't really been in the past. It used to be more like James Bond continuity where it was the same characters and the events were loosely connected, and it was just like, this is what the mission's going to be this time. But now it's acting more like a traditional sequel where you have the events of the previous film directly influencing the plot of the next film. But the real subtitle we should just start calling these movies is a Tom Cruise destroying his body for our entertainment. That's really the challenge. There's two real important conversations that you have when you talk about Mission Impossible films. One, were the stunts cool? Were they bigger, better than the last film? And two, how well does it work as a Mission Impossible film as opposed to just a general action film? Because it's not like Fast and the Furious. Even Christopher McQuarrie, the director, who was amazing on this film and the last film, made a joke about how the Airbus scene at the beginning of Rogue Nation at one point in the development stage looked exactly like the plot of Fast and Furious 6 with that never-ending runway. So one of the tropes of a Mission Impossible film that makes it Mission Impossible is the story of how things always go wrong and how the team works together to make it right. So it would be weird if they made a really awesome plan and then it didn't go completely off the rails. One of the things this film does really well is play on the tropes of the earlier Mission Impossible films. If you're a longtime fan of the franchise, you'll recognize Easter eggs and moments going all the way back to the first film. It won't ruin it if you don't remember the plot of those earlier films, but it does kind of enhance the viewing experience, so I would recommend revisiting the first film at some point. The films now are so different from what they used to be. I would argue that modern Mission Impossible films really began with Rogue Nation. Mission Impossible 3 was meant to be sort of a hard reboot of the series with the way it worked and the way they used the characters and how they plotted it out, but I think Ghost Protocol was probably the first film to successfully accomplish that, and then they perfected the model with Rogue Nation, and now it's even better with Fallout. So I don't want to say that it's the best Mission Impossible film, but it's definitely one of my favorite, if not the favorite. My last favorite was Rogue Nation, but I do think that Fallout does a better job of having the team work together, which is one of the complaints about some of the earlier films, where like you do have Luther's character, but he's on the other side of the planet, so he's not really working with the team in the way that you would expect him to. They do a good job of making Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt character feel like an outsider, even though they kind of fixed the IMF problem in the last movie. Part of the plot of Rogue Nation is that they were putting the entire IMF on trial. They kind of solved that problem, but Mission Impossible films work best when Ethan feels like he's in the wrong, even though he's trying to do the right thing. Like I said, it's all about having a really awesome plan that totally goes off the rails for a little while before he saves the day with some crazy twist by the end. So even though the IMF is in good standing, you never really feel like the government itself as an organization has Ethan Hunt's back the way that you would want them to. But getting into some of the other characters, there are really like a couple important characters that you need to talk about with this film. One is Henry Cavill. The Super Stash tore it up. Henry Cavill has some really great performances during Man of Steel, but this just proves that he can actually be a really good actor outside of the DC universe. So he has talked a lot about teaming up with Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie for other future films. That gets mostly into like them doing another Man of Steel movie, or even Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie teaming up for Green Lantern Corps. You may hear some rumors about that this weekend because people are like, are you all going to work together again? Because them working together on Fallout went so well. Christopher McQuarrie is such a great director and a writer at the same time, and Tom Cruise is so good at what he does, and Henry Cavill is just chomping at the bit to be in other good movies. There's a possibility that they could team up for another DC film at some point in the future, but that's still a bit up in the air, so we can talk about that if they make any official announcements.
Henry Cavill knows what it would be like. We had a lot of time hanging out on set, and Henry's a huge fan of Superman, and I can't help but talk story with people. So he told me his take on Superman, and I thought it was really great, and I gave him my 2 cents. The tweet you're referring to is somebody asked, would you do it? And I said, hey, they know where to find me. Nobody's asked, but, you know.
So I can't say enough about how Christopher McQuarrie makes good use of Henry Cavill and him reloading his guns. They've been using that to market the film all over the world for the past couple of months.
He did this. It's like, that's just awesome. Reloading his biceps. That was awesome.
Tom m'a dit, c'est comme il a rechargé.
Do it, Henry. Do it, Henry.
Allez, il a rechargé ses muscles. Go ahead, Henry. Do it. Henry. Henry.
Let's go.
Henry.
Yeah!
That's only the beginning, and of course Rebecca Ferguson was the film's secret weapon during Rogue Nation. She's probably the best new addition to the franchise. She kills it during Fallout, figuratively and literally. I hope they never get rid of her. I'm actually excited to see her do other big movies like this, because she wasn't that big of an actress before they found her for Rogue Nation. She was doing a bunch of other smaller films, so Rogue Nation really was like her first big, huge film. Notably absent, of course, is Hawkeye, which is a recurring theme this year. This is like the year Jeremy Renner isn't in the big movies that he was just in a little while ago. The only reason why he's not around, though, is because he was booked filming Avengers 4 while they were filming this movie. So his character is still around. He'll probably come back for Mission Impossible 7. Pretty sure they're going to make it. The critical reception, the box office for this is doing so well that, of course, they're going to make another one. Like I said, they made great use of Ving Rhames' character. He gives the series a nice sense of continuity that you don't get just because there's not a whole lot of people left over from that original Mission Impossible film. Simon Pegg was great again. I've always been a big fan of his character in this franchise. His whole thing after his first Mission Impossible film several years ago was that he did not want to be the Ned Leeds Spider-Man Homecoming man in the chair. Like, he actually wanted to get out and get dirty like the other characters. So I should also say they do find an interesting way of invoking Michelle Monaghan's character too. They do a really good job of wrapping her arc up with Ethan, because they've been this thing with the last couple of films, like what are they going to do with her character going forward? Is she going to continue to be part of the franchise? I think they left the franchise in a place where they can pick up in the next film without having to completely be tied to what happened in these last two films. Like, they can go back to James Bond style, where they just have another mission to accomplish and they don't have to explain where a lot of these other side characters are. There was another new character played by Vanessa Kirby. I can't really say who she is without getting into spoilers, but she was another secret weapon of the film. Great addition. They do a really good job of finding really badass women to bring into this franchise. Once you guys have a chance to see it though, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Careful to use spoiler tags if you want to get really specific, because this is meant to be a non-spoilery review. But just a reminder, if you do have time, re-watch that first film. Like I said, no spoilers. It won't ruin your enjoyment of the film if you never saw it or you don't remember what the plot is. But there are a couple big tropes, characters, things that they borrow from the plot of that movie that are important during Fallout. So I have to say I am completely blown away with how well this film worked. When we heard about all the drama with Justice League and the Super Stash last year, you expect the worst. Like, oh, how could they do this? But this Mission Impossible movie turned out really awesome, so I was pleasantly surprised. So definitely go check it out this weekend when you get the chance. But there'll be a whole bunch more comic book stuff coming up. While you wait for everything, click here for all my Comic-Con trailers and click here for brand new Avengers 4. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.